For everyone who wanted Mario Kart Smile to come to mobile, I got bad news for you. Nintendo is ending mobile game development. Let's talk about it. Originally, this video was going to be an unscripted discussion video, but considering the topic and significance of Mario Kart Tour this channel, I feel like making a regular video about the topic was a better move. So what exactly is going on? Recently, Bloomberg posted an article about Nintendo announcing it would show its mobile ambitions due to the success of Animal Crossing New Horizons. I personally think it's more than just the success of Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I'll get to that in a bit. Furukawa stated, "We are not necessarily looking to continue releasing many new applications for the mobile market," but he did also state that a mobile application was in development, but he couldn't answer further details on it. Usually with Nintendo's mobile games, they'll announce something very early on. Mario Kart Tour was announced all the way back in January of 2018, and it didn't release until September of 2019, so I'm assuming this new mobile game will only be an add-on app for the Switch, like the parental controls or online app. So essentially, they're ending development of new mobile games. Maybe not applications, but actual games. This is pretty big news considering the following. Ever since the Game Boy, Nintendo has developed for handhelds and consoles simultaneously. And with the Switch, everyone thought they only needed to develop for one platform and that would result in more games. But oddly enough, that hasn't been the case. During all of 2017 and 2018, Nintendo was releasing 3DS and Switch games simultaneously, with most of the 3DS games being games that would have been way better on the Switch. But the final first-party 3DS games released in 2019, being Mario & Luigi's Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey and Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, did so bad that they caused Nintendo to cancel further 3DS plans. I must say, it's pretty impressive the 3DS lasted as long as it did. During that time, I graduated elementary, middle, and high school, and even got my associate's degree. So yes, imagine being in 5th grade hyped for Super Mario 3D Land one year, to going to Target in college to get the Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story remake another. We haven't seen a new 3DS game since Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, so I think it's fair to assume Nintendo is no longer continuing 3DS support, and that's where their mobile games come into play. The reason why Nintendo's handhelds were so successful wasn't just because they were portable, but they were affordable and had a great selection of games. In the early days of the 3DS, you could get a 3DS and a game for $210, and as of 2016, you could get a 2DS with Mario Kart 7 for just $80. That's a killer deal. So with the Switch being a console handheld hybrid, they didn't have anything that would cater to this market at first. And that's part of the reason why I think they got into mobile games. The main reason is after the failure of the Wii U, they needed something. If you want to know how bad it was to be a Nintendo fan in 2016, well just look at the Wii U's Game of the Year that year. That shows that they were getting desperate. On paper, Nintendo's mobile games sound like an instant success. But most of the time, something went wrong with the games, and to figure out exactly what went wrong, we have to look at a history of Nintendo's mobile games. First there was Miitomo. Miitomo was the first Nintendo mobile game, and it really wasn't a game, but a sort of social network app. Unfortunately, during the time of its release, the phone I had was so bad with its 2 gigabytes, yes, 2 gigabytes of internal storage, I couldn't even play it. And by the time I got a better phone, Pokemon Go released, so I pretty much lost all interest. And it didn't last very long either, because it was discontinued in 2018. But Nintendo's first true mobile game is where things get interesting. Super Mario Run was revealed at Apple's 2016 event, which not only announced the removal of the headphone jack, but a mobile Mario game exclusive to iOS for a few months. It was pretty cool to see, and the idea of a mobile Mario game is cool. But Super Mario Run came and went. People were very excited to play it, but were turned off by Nintendo's strategy of having a one-time payment for the game. I don't think that having an always online requirement helped the game either. That's my major issue with all of Nintendo's mobile games. If I have to be connected to the internet to play the game, why not just play the Switch? It defeats the purpose of mobile games. Personally, I don't think the one-time payment was the issue. I think it was overpriced. Double digits aren't something mobile gamers are used to, and I think if it were $5, I think it would have done well. But it was too expensive for a mobile game. I bought the game and I enjoyed it, and I think it's a good adaptation of 2D Mario, and I prefer the one-time payment model. But it's clear the mobile market didn't, and that brings us to Fire Emblem Heroes. Fire Emblem Heroes was released in 2017, and was a major success, making over $600 million. More than half of Nintendo's mobile revenue is from Fire Emblem alone, and there's a reason for that. Fire Emblem was free to play, but it introduced something that would eventually lead to the demise of Nintendo's mobile development. Gacha elements, or as what I like to call them, loot boxes. Gacha games are very popular in Japan, And Fire Emblem, as popular as it is in the West now, is a series way more popular in Japan. Needless to say, it did great. And later that year we got Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Unlike Fire Emblem Heroes and Miitomo, I played Animal Crossing Pocket Camp quite a bit actually. What the game did was take the concept of doing chores for villagers and made it into a game. I had fun playing it. I liked the camping theme, and there's a lot of what makes Animal Crossing great. The items, crafting, designing your campsite, and your home is an actual RV. I love the camping theme here. What Nintendo did here was make the game free to play, but you had to pay for certain things like crafting furniture faster, and sadly loot boxes being the fortune cookies. Initially, the game didn't do all that well, but it did get a slight boost due to the popularity of New Horizons, so that brings us to Regalia Lost. Regalia Lost is Nintendo's first new IP on mobile. It's an action role-playing game, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not a game that interests me at all, but what is interesting is it was Nintendo's second biggest mobile success, and yes, a new IP, a game that would cater mostly to Japanese players, did better than Super Mario Run. That says a lot, but guess what Regalia Lost did? It had gacha mechanics. So by this time, Nintendo was seeing a pattern. We tried being fair, it's not working, but the games that aren't fair are working. And that leads us to the most recent mobile games from Nintendo, Dr. Mario World and Mario Kart Tour. Dr. Mario World on mobile just made sense. Puzzle games are a go-to on your phone. They're so easy to pick up and play, and they're fun. And Dr. Mario World is no exception. While Dr. Mario World does a few things that I hate, like the gacha, always online requirement, and the stamina system, it's overall a pretty fun game. You play levels via a world map, and they progressively get harder with new obstacles like dust, ice, and blocks, but the cool thing is, there are different doctors you can play as, each with their own ability. As ridiculous as it is seeing Dr. Goomba Tower, the game introduced Dr. Waluigi, and it's cool seeing everyone as a doctor. Man, if only we had a Dr. Mario on the Switch. It even had multiplayer since day one. I personally really like Dr. Mario World, but it's unfortunately Nintendo's worst performing mobile game by a long shot. Super Mario Run made $76 million, and that was considered a failure. Dr. Mario World made under $5 million. Players didn't want to spend money gambling to get a certain doctor, because it was never guaranteed, and most of the time, you just get assistance. But if you think the gacha is bad here, it only gets worse. One of the most notorious games Nintendo has ever made, and easily the most hated Mario Kart game, Mario Kart Tour is everything wrong with mobile games. When Mario Kart Tour was first announced, I was kind of excited. It was a long time since we had a new Mario Kart then, and an even longer time now, so I thought at the very least it would hold us over until Mario Kart 9. And in some ways, it does. It's a good adaptation of Mario Kart on mobile from a gameplay perspective, and it introduces and reintroduces a lot of elements to the series, such as special items, reverse and T-tracks, and it even has a few new courses, not to mention the excellent roster. But everything good that it does is brought down by greed. If you want a certain character, you're almost never guaranteed to get them. I wanted Pauline for the longest, but it wasn't until now that I was able to unlock her, and that's only because I saved up a whopping 30,000 coins to buy her in the shop. I had to use 50 rubies I saved up to get the 8,000 coins I needed, but if I bought the rubies I needed to convert to coins, that's $27 for 48 of them, and an extra 2 for the 2 I needed, so $29 for 51 rubies. But you could always wait for the special offer for the low price of $40 for 90 rubies, a character, and a cart. You might as well buy Mario Kart 7 or save up for 8 Deluxe at that point. And if I use those rubies in the pipe, most of the time you just get crap unless it's in the elusive 50 pipe. So yeah, I'd rather use those rubies to get a character I want instead of gambling it. On top of that, it's also pay to win. You need certain characters, carts, and gliders to get 5 Grand Stars to get more rubies to unlock more stuff. It's frustrating and it's something I thought Nintendo would never stoop so low to doing. It's not only anti-consumer, but it can flat out damage the reputation of the brand. When you hear EA, you likely think of greed. It's so bad there's an entire Wikipedia page about the criticism of EA. The only thing that stopped Mario Kart Tour from tarnishing Nintendo and the series is the fact that it didn't take off, and it was one step close to taking off. Mario Kart is what I believe to be the gaming series with the most mass appeal. It's always one of the best sellers, if not the best seller on a system, and mobile has a massive install base. Almost everyone has a smartphone, so when you put a series with mass appeal on a platform everyone owns, it sounds like a recipe for success, right? Well, it didn't even launch with multiplayer. The main reason why Mario Kart is popular wasn't included in Mario Kart Tour at launch. First impressions mean everything, and by the time multiplayer was added, it was too little too late. Face it, a majority of Nintendo's mobile games didn't do too well. But what does this mean for Nintendo and the fans? For Nintendo and the fans, I think this is a good thing. The Switch proved to be a massive success, with almost every AAA first-party game selling over 10 million copies, and the Switch is the third best-selling Nintendo console, and it's very close to being the second. The Switch appeals to everyone, so there's not much of a need to have a platform like the 3DS or mobile anymore. Not to mention the Switch Lite exists for gamers who don't want to spend a lot of money, so they got that covered too. Nintendo not making mobile games anymore is a good thing. No resources will be used to make games outside the Switch, and they weren't doing that well for Nintendo anyway, so stopping development is a good thing. And if a game like Mario Kart Tour became a smash hit, that could also cause further problems. Maybe Nintendo's console games would have loot boxes, or even worse, Nintendo would put a bigger focus on their mobile games than their console games. Look what's happening with Pokemon. Pokemon Go was a massive success, and ever since then, the Pokemon Company and Game Freak have put less of a focus on the mainline games, and instead focused more on mobile games, and they even went as far as collaborating with Tencent for Pokemon Unite. So if anything, it's good that Nintendo is ending their mobile game development. But with all this being said, there is still a major question I have. With all of Nintendo's mobile games, you always have to be online to play them. That means they're connected to a server. And when Nintendo decides, okay, mobile games aren't doing well for us anymore, let's shut down the servers, how are people going to be able to play these games? We saw Miitomo shut down in 2018, and there's really not a way to play the game. But I'm wondering, what are they going to do with their more successful mobile apps? What are they going to do with Fire Emblem Heroes? I know a lot of people spend money in that game, and same goes for the people who bought Super Mario Run and content in their other mobile games. I really hope there's a way they're going to preserve these games, and I hope they announce it soon, because the preservation of games is important, and I hope these games don't go away. Because even if you think a game like Mario Kart Tour is bad, it's still part of gaming history, and should remain playable for anyone. So what do you guys think? Are you sad Nintendo isn't making mobile games anymore, or are you happy? Let me know in the comments, and keep calm and da-da on.